All right, good morning and welcome to the Point for today. Of course, you know the name Gordon Joseph, and I'm joined this morning on the program with my good friends, two good friends of mine. I call them friends. To my extreme right, Sergent Sherwin Noel, and to my immediate right, he should be a doctor. He should have a doctorate by now, but I'll just call him Tyrone Buckmire. He is the director of the Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Joseph, and good morning to your viewers and listeners.
Thank you, Gordon. Good morning to viewers, listeners, and wherever you are out there.
Okay. All right. The conversation this morning is the law and men, a very controversial topic because ever so often you would hear men say that the law is for dogs and women and children, nothing for us. But as Tyrone was saying just before we came on the set, law is gender neutral.
Gender neutral, yeah.
So the same thing that applies for women applies for men, but it's just that we as men, most times we think we're tough and we're solid as a rock and we don't take advantage of the laws that are available. So Tyrone, I want to start with you. What are some of the areas in which men are negatively affected, adversely implicated? The law is there to protect them, but they don't take access to it.
Well, I would say that the two main, there are a number of areas, but the reality is that it's not so much that men are negatively affected, it's that men are not necessarily accessing the services that are available, and that may be because they don't know, or because they have been led to believe by other men and by others in the society that, as you said, the law is for women, children, and animals. The reality is that the laws are gender neutral, so any right that is afforded to a woman or children under the law, those rights are also afforded to men, right? So in any situation where a man feels that he's abused, he's violated, his rights are not being recognized, he has a right to seek legal redress. He has a right to seek services such as those provided by Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic, and not only in relation to women and children, but also even in situations of men-on-men violence, men-on-men conflict, right? We all, as citizens of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, have vested in us by virtue of our Constitution and the laws of the land a set of rights. We also have responsibilities. So sometimes we need to understand, first we should make a conscious effort to find out what our rights are. B, make efforts to access those rights when it is necessary. And remember that somebody else's experience is not necessarily going to be your experience. So a lot of men who, when they talk to their partners and the partners say, boy, I went to the police, and they laugh at me and this happened or that happened, this other man now thinks, okay, well, that's the same thing that might happen to me as well. Yeah. So I'm not going to go.
Now, another key question that I want to ask. Every time we talk about men and the law, people are tempted to believe that we're talking gender-based violence. All right, especially where men would claim that, they don't get justice. Mm-hmm. We tend to think it's gender-based violence where a man is in violation of his partner, his female partner, physical and domestic abuse. But is that necessarily the case, or there are other cases that are not gender-based violence related?
Yeah, outside of gender-based violence or intimate partner violence, we have a whole other set of offenses that are domestic offenses, so that a man who gets in a fight with his brother or his sister or his aunt or his cousin, right? These are not necessarily gender-based violence, but they're categorized as domestic violence offenses. And then, as I mentioned just a while ago, we do have men-on-men violence. We have a lot of incidences where men fight each other, cause grievous harm to each other, and even kill each other. And in any of those situations, even in the cases where, although a very small percentage, even in the cases where the men themselves may be the victims of gender-based violence or violent intimate partner violence, they too, of course, have a right to report, to seek protection orders, and any of the remedies that are available in the law are equally available to male and female.
Sergeant Noel, in your role and your years of experience actively in the police force, are you comfortable with the fact that men generally do not seek redress from the law? or they do it less frequently than women?
Okay, so may I just start by saying the RGPF, we thought it very timely to have this discussion in light that, International Men's Day would be celebrated on the 19th of this month. All right, and as the Community Relations Department, we often work in partnership with Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic and other stakeholders to make life a lot easier for some of our citizens.
We intend to. We attempt to.
Yes. So when we speak about men and the law generally, I must say we are speaking not only about men committing offenses, but we are speaking about men, being aware of the services that are available to them in terms of, the law. So we're not only speaking about a man as a perpetrator here, we're speaking about a man as a victim, a man in distress, or a man who has something to offer that can develop other men as well. So we're speaking here about, this wide circle. You are speaking here about men, yes, we have seen over the years the reluctance of men to really come forward to the police for various reasons to report incidences. And I'm here advocating, for the police as well as men. So I'm here to tell you that our police officers in this modern time, they are well trained, more equipped than before, and we do not expect at any time that a man will, go into a police station or a department to report a crime or an incident or a violation or sort, and that he will be laughed at or maybe ridiculed in any way. So we are saying that services are open and available for men, just as it is for women, as it is for children. So access to those resources, it's free. It's free. You don't have to pay to go into the station and make a complaint, and you don't have to be frightened. And if you happen to go into a police station and you've been laughed at when you're making a complaint of might be a sensitive nature, then you have all rights to bring it to the attention of the authorities. You make complaints against police at the Community Relations Department, and those complaints will be looked into, and officers will be dealt with accordingly. Yes, so we are saying here that we want to bring awareness. Yep. We want to bring awareness. We want to see a difference in trend, because what we recognize as well is that when a man fails to report a matter, or he takes it into his own hands most of the times, so he don't allow the law to really take the course of action that the law says that should happen. So you would find men coming into conflict with the law as a result of failing to report matters. And that's one of the reasons why the statistics at His Majesty's pleasure prison, we have so much of, the higher percentage of the population being men, over 90%. And this could definitely be one of the reasons, because men are not doing what the law says that they have to do in terms of reporting matters, and they are taking matters into their own hands. So it might be, as we were saying before, it might be as a result of a domestic issue. And when we say domestic violence, as I must clear up, is not a specific offense, but is a category of offense that you relate to based on your relationship with an individual, or based on the circumstances surrounding the household and so on. And it can range from a simple assault to murder. Yes? And we're not only speaking here about this type of offenses, but as Mr. Buckmire said, we're speaking here about the fights that take place in town, the fights among men that take place in our different institutions, the young boys that get involved in the chopping and amputating of one another. And so it's a serious concern for us. It's a serious concern, and as we go further into the program, we'll get to the point to see where this whole issue of men not reporting and the issue of men getting involved in violence stem from.
That is where I'm coming back to Mr. Buckmire, because Mr. Buckmire has spent more than all of his adult life doing this sort of social work. How many years? 40 years?
36. Not 40 years.
You see, I was almost there. In your time executing these duties in the social development aspect, how has it been? Are you seeing a decline in men's what is the word I want to use? bad behaviors. I'll use that phrase, bad behaviors. Are you seeing a situation, because Legal Aid runs a plethora of campaigns and programs to assist men, boys, girls, everybody. Over the years, as time progresses, are you in a position to say that our men are learning and they are behaving better now?
I would say we have seen encouraging signs that people are A, seeking more information, B, seeking more services, C, making a more conscious effort to be involved in the lives of their children. And I'm speaking now specifically about men, because some of the challenges we've had and some of the things we feel have contributed to men not reporting and not seeking services has to do with A, our socialization as men. A lot have of sort of we've been socialized in a way that we are expected to behave as we're strong.
Yeah.
We're an island unto ourselves. We should not seek anybody else's help. We should handle our own business. We've been made to feel that it wouldn't look good for a man to complain. It wouldn't look good for a man to go to the police and say he has been hit. It wouldn't look good for a man to take a woman to court for maintenance, because there's all this societal pressure on men to stand up and be strong and show that no matter what happened, you can handle your business for yourself.
Yeah.
That's on the one hand. On the other hand, there's also the reality that just men's pride, you know. We have a number of men who would come to us at Legal Aid, and the issue they come about is they are the primary care provider for the children. You know, the mother is not in the picture, or she's not actively in the picture. So the child is living with the man, child or children. Well, in a situation like that, if it were the children were living with the mother would almost all automatically be advised by a number of persons in her circle to take him to court for maintenance. But almost nobody will suggest this to the man, to go to court for maintenance. And when he comes to Legal Aid and we say, well, you know, you can't go to court and get maintenance, he say, sir, I don't want your money. I will take care of my business, I will take care of my children, it's my children. Or we've had men who say, well, even if I go to court, I ain't want your money, but I would like her to come and wash the children here, or wash the children clothes, or comb the children here, you know, those kinds of things.
So we actually have this sort of cases in Grenada?
Yeah, we actually do have, we have a number of men who, you know, through our support and advice, have gone to court for maintenance and have gotten it, because the law makes provision for that. The Maintenance Act doesn't say anywhere that only women who have the children can take men to court. It says that the parent who has the primary responsibility for the care of the children, meaning the parent with whom the children lives, is entitled under the law to financial support for those children from the other parent. So if it's there with the man, with the father, he can take the mother to court. We also have men who may have, in some instances, we have men who have been, you know, the victims of violence in their homes, and in a situation that, yeah, you can go to court seeking a protection order, asking the court to take to lay certain conditions against the perpetrator that will dissuade her from committing violence against you or whatever, in the same way that a protection order against a man will have the same conditions. But it's about having the information, knowing what is possible, what rights you can access, and then being prepared, irrespective of what people will say, being prepared to go forward and seek the services.
I want to ask the officer that last point that Mr. Buckmire raised there about men being, especially in the case of domestic violence by interpartner violence, then why would a man be, in this day and age, be ashamed or intimidated or afraid to come to the police station to report that, hey, my woman does box me up, she does beat me with a grater? Why?
Well, Gordon, we have to look at it as a social issue. A number of varying reasons. It can be that, you know, that man might be afraid of how his friends or peers might look at him. It could as well be the way that he was socialized, you know, from all the upbringing, and a number of other reasons, you know, his status in society. He may not want other persons to know that he's going through this, because maybe he's seen in public as this strong person. And that's the reason why we're here, to say that it's okay to not be okay. You know, it's okay for you to be a outstanding person in society and to seek assistance where you have a struggle. So it's okay for you to report those matters, but still we have this challenge, and it's a process that we have to go through in terms of enlightening persons and getting them to understand that it makes a lot of sense to look for help. It makes a lot of sense to go out there, report matters, have the situation dealt with. All situations that are that occur. Well, in domestic violence, if it's domestic violence, then it must be reported, right? It must be reported and brought before the court. But there are situations that it doesn't reach what we refer to as that type of violence that constitutes a criminal offense. So there's other help that you can get. For instance, counseling. Yeah, so it might be a situation where you're going through that period where you believe that if you continue to go through that, then it might lead to you committing some sort of criminal act. Go to the authorities and get some help. Don't remain in isolation. And so the social network that we were speaking about before, that women have, that women create, men too can create that same sort of, social, network or social support. And that's why, as the police, as legal aid, sometimes we provide this sort of psychosocial support by maybe referrals. If we cannot do something or we cannot get it done, then we would lead you to some way where you can get some sort of assistance, because not all matters that are reported are really a crime. And we are saying that it's okay to come and report your matter, because we have trained professionals in this modern time. Legal aid and counseling clinic, they do provide a lot of training, and we have other agencies, other government agencies and other private agencies that provide this sort of support and training, so that we can have a professional system, professional persons working in the various departments that can assist you. I've been through a number of different training with legal aid and with other agencies. And I must say that a number of officers, and if you have this huge cadre of officers being trained, and not only officers but social workers, then I would expect that they would go back to the various departments and provide this sort of training internally.
The communities as well, communities in which they live as well.
So you shouldn't be afraid to report matters based by virtue of you being a man. Man can cry. It's okay for a man to cry. We were brought up in this sort of way.
Do you cry?
I cry.
Okay.
I cry.
When it's necessary.
When it's necessary. Yeah. It may not be in public.
Why not?
But yeah, I do cry.
I cry in public if I have to.
And we were saying here that how we were brought up. As a man, sometimes even I sometimes would find myself telling my son, "Watch, man. You're a man, you're a young boy, you get up and run, tough it out." Yeah, so, we were brought up in this way that we are of the opinion that a man shouldn't cry, a man shouldn't report certain matters.
Shouldn't show any emotions at all.
But not only, what that does also, right, especially to the younger ones, it confuses them, Because based on what the circumstance is, big man, as you crying for that,
Yeah.
and the next circumstance, little boy, as you doing that, what am I?
Yeah.
A big man or a little boy?
Yeah. And you hear them saying themselves, well, big police officer like you going and make a report that your wife hit you. Yeah, big police, you can do that. Yeah, so.
Gentlemen, very interesting conversation. It's 25 minutes after 9 o'clock. We need to take a commercial break. We'll be back with more on law on men.
Men and the law.
Men and the law.
Yeah.
We'll be back. Don't you go anywhere. This is To The Point.
Tourism is me, tourism is you, tourism is everybody, and tourism connects us all.
Did you know that tourism generates revenue and foreign exchange earnings?
Did you know it stimulates infrastructural development and facilitates cultural exchange among people?
You must know tourism is linked to all industries,
from agriculture to construction.
So support the industry today and be welcoming to all our visitors.
Tourism is my business. Tourism is your business. Tourism is our business. Listen, one and all. Tourism tourism connects us all.
A message from the Ministry of Tourism
And the Grenada Tourism Authority.
Hello, everybody. My name is Renee Goodwin, and I am the marketing manager here at True Blue Bay Resort. And I am so excited to invite you all to join us every Thursday on GBN, starting from November 7th, as we count down to the holiday season, right here at True Blue Bay Resort, Grenada's best family-friendly resort for visitors and locals.
Grenada, get ready to celebrate the magic of the season with Christmas with GBN. Starting November 4th, join us weekdays from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on GBN Television, K105 and Hot 98. Monday kicks off with traditional stories and wellness, featuring a storytelling session with Labukan Creative Center, giveaways, nutrition tips, and live calls to share your holiday wishes. On Tuesday, brings Craft Day with live and pre-recorded workshops guided by local artisans. Join us for more giveaways and connect through live calls. Wednesday features an outdoor production showcase, giving local sponsors a chance to shine from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. On Thursday, it highlights a local cuisine showcase at True Blue Bay Resort. And on Friday, it wraps up the week with live entertainment in our studio, showcasing local artists and more opportunities for live calls. Don't miss out on the joy and togetherness this holiday season. Celebrate with us on Christmas with GBN.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners, to The Point. It's 28 minutes after 9. In case you're just joining us, I'm joined in the studio this morning by Sergeant Noel and Director Tyrone Buckmire, Director of Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic. Tyrone, legal aid has evolved throughout the years, all right? And now legal aid offers a multiplicity of services, all geared at targeting the social fabric of the nation. What are some of the services, especially as it relates to what we're talking there?
Well, we are a multidisciplinary agency that has developed certain expertise in terms of things what we call psychosocial services, so counseling, mediation around a number of issues. And a lot of the mediation that we do is around child support and visitation. We have, as you know, unfortunately, we have a lot of couples who have stayed together long enough to have children and then decided that they as the adults no longer want to be together. Divorces happen, families break up, and so on. So what is left is for these former couples but co-parents to be able to work out arrangements that help them to co-parent the child in a way that is beneficial to the child. And that is a very difficult issue for a lot of people to deal with, because often we have, let's say party A, in this case the man comes in and he is saying, listen, I'm not getting to see my children. The mother have the children, she not letting me see them. She'd rather send them by she grandmother, she sister, anybody but me as the father. What do you do about that? In the case of that, we would try to get the mother in for a mediation session in which we would sit with both parties and remind them, listen, one of the principles or the mandates of our work is a principle called the best interest of the child, to ensure that whatever happens between the adults, the child has an opportunity to benefit from spending reasonable quality time with both parents, and to negotiate an arrangement or mediate an arrangement that leads to that is also comfortable or convenient for the parents in terms of scheduling and so on. But so many times when people come into those sessions, they put in so much feelings, as you might say, or there are so many other emotional issues that they haven't dealt with and put away as yet, that the last thing they're really dealing with is the issue around the visitation with the child. And a lot of men are reluctant to do that because they say, I'm not going to, so for example, the man might be saying he wants visitation, the mother is saying she wants maintenance, right? And the mother is saying, I ain't letting the child go by him because he's not giving nothing for the child. The father is saying, I ain't giving nothing because I'm not getting to see the child.
So where do you compromise that?
The understanding has to be both parents must be made to understand, and this is part of our job. Sir, you're not paying to see a child. right? Mom, you're not letting him see the child in return for financial support. By our Maintenance Act, by our law, you have a legal obligation to support the child. You have a moral obligation to support the child. And the father has a right to spend time with the child, and the child has a right to spend time with the father, child or children. So it's then about working out an arrangement that makes sense, that helps both parties to look at what's best. What can you really realistically do? Is it really possible for you to have the child every weekend? Do you want to have the child half of every week? Does that make practical sense? So the child goes to school Monday and Tuesday from one house and Wednesday and Thursday from the other house, So sometimes people come with a whole lot of things, some of which are unrealistic, but at least it's a starting point for negotiation. And that service is equally open to men as to women. So whether the man is a primary care provider and he needs to access financial support through the maintenance court, come to Legal Aid, we can help guide you through the process. If it's a woman, come to Legal Aid, we can help to guide you through the process. What we don't want is for partners, and in this case especially men, to have the excuse of not doing the best they can because they have a preconceived notion, which is usually wrong, that the law is only for women and children, right? So that people, that they must understand you have a right, you have a responsibility, and there are support services available. Another program that we do that is very important, that has benefited a lot of men, which you know about personally, having been through the program with us, but also as an associate of Legal Aid, a program that we call the Man-to-Man program, where a number of men are charged with domestic violence offenses, assault or wounding or whatever, against a female partner, and the court can send them to this program, because the first option mustn't necessarily always be incarceration, right? Fine and imprisonment. Sometimes the court can take the view, if recommended by Legal Aid or by virtue of the legislation, that here is a man who committed an offense. It might be a first offense, whatever the circumstances are, he can get an opportunity to be sent into a program like Man-to-Man, where he can learn some social skills, negotiation, conflict management, effective communication. So skills that may help him, not just in the context of that relationship, which might actually be finished because of the violence or the incident, but any future relationship. You need to understand that violence is a choice, that you don't have to exercise that choice. You have other options. You need to understand how to negotiate, how to discuss things in a way that does not flare up and get into violence. And these are programs that we offer. Men can access the Man-to-Man program not only through being arrested, charged, and sent to court and then referred by the court. Yesterday, the last client I had at 4 p.m. yesterday was a man who came and he said, "Sir, I know I am an abuser." He said, "I've done it repeatedly, I've hit my wife repeatedly, and I know I want help." So somebody told him about Legal Aid. He came, and we are going to make arrangements for him to access first counseling, one-on-one counseling, one of our counselors, and subsequently the Man-to-Man program. That is not at all to suggest that the court is going to say, okay, well, he's getting help, he's good. But at least the court will recognize that he himself has recognized that he has a challenge. He himself has recognized that he wants help to deal with this matter. And so he has sought help, because that help is available, as opposed to just thinking, well, it makes sense doing nothing because if you go to the police, they're going to pick me up anyway and I'll go to jail anyway, because men ain't have no rights in this country. That is not at all true, and this is really the point of this program, to inform and remind men that they have options for getting support under the law, and that they should know what these services are and be able to access them.
Sarge, Mr. Buckmire just said hinted of the number of programs that they have available, which could work hand in hand with the judicial system. From the police standpoint, a woman comes in to report that she was abused by her male partner. Is the first step going and look for the man and arresting him?
No, definitely that wouldn't be the first step. As a matter of fact, it depends on how the matter is reported. So if you get a call from a home and someone is in distress, then you would respond immediately, obviously. But if someone comes into the station and says that, she's been abused by her partner, then the first step would be to get enough information that you can work with. So the police officer would obtain a statement, what we call a written record of what she has to say about the incident. And in that, they would try to get as much, what we say, facts from her. Well, it may not be facts, but as much information from her as possible that could support what she's saying in an effort to carry out your due diligence, and in turn, if you do find evidence, then you would have to make an arrest.
Okay.
A number, as Mr. Buckmire was saying, a number of the cases that are referred to the man-to-man program is through the court system. So these matters are carefully investigated by our experienced officers, who is well trained and brought before the court, and the court would determine what action should be taken, if they should be sent to the man-to-man program. If that person is a repeated offender, then a different course of action may be taken, as the case might be.
Okay. Does the RGPF have any resource personnel that can, on the spur of the moment, someone comes in and, like Tyrone just said, the gentleman came in voluntarily to seek help. Can someone like that come to the police station and you have personnel available to deal with that?
It depends. There are individuals who are trained and capable of, dealing with situations like that, but it's really not the RGPF mandate to do that. But there are individuals who have this passion for things like that might be able to sit with this person, have a discussion, and do referral. So you might be able to talk to them, give them basic counseling and so, but in turn refer them maybe to legal aid or maybe to a private counselor, as the case might be. However, I must say that the RGPF do have a mandate when it comes to domestic violence, that all matters of domestic violence nature should be brought before the court, at least to the prosecutor. Let the prosecutor be the determining person here that would say whether or not it should proceed or not to proceed. So as the ordinary police officer in the station, you get a complaint, you go, you gather as much information as possible, you treat the matter with the utmost respect, and you carry your findings and documents to the prosecutor for determination. So as police, we are not supposed to be counselors, but we have persons who are trained.
Yeah.
Maybe in the private capacity.
The police is supposed to be the first judge, yeah? So
yes, so you
judge the situation on its merits.
In situations like these,
judge it on its
then
merits.
they remove that, what we call, as we say, discretion from the police. Yeah. So that discretion is removed from the police in situations like these. But you always have the chance to think. Once you, as a matter of fact, I would say, once you have evidence, then you bring. You're charged.
There's another. I mean, I want our audience to understand that when we talk about domestic violence and we're talking the law and man, it's not just gender-based violence or interpartner violence. In recent times, we've been seeing an upsurge of violent crimes, especially being perpetuated by our young men.
Right.
I mean, it's appalling. I listened to, for example, there's a story that's in my vicinity now, and I listened to persons who were there. All right, and when you listen to the story, we know for a fact that something is wrong here. As legal aid and agencies along those lines tied in with the RGPF, what stand can we take as a people? Because legal aid, RGPF, all the other psychosocial agencies cannot fix this. This is a societal issue. The society has to fix this. How do we attempt to deal with this?
There are a number of areas. Remember that parenting is a critical role that has to be played in forming and nurturing our children, to bring them up in a way that they have certain soft skills that they learn, that they're able to negotiate, that they're able to avoid conflict, they're prepared to walk away without getting into violent confrontations. But in so many cases, our children do not necessarily have access to that kind of parenting support, because we have so many broken families, so many single families, single parent households. But even where we have both parents who stay together for over the long term and try to do their very best, persons are still exposed to social media, they're exposed to the mass media and everything from movies and songs and so on. So it's really about helping working with our people, young and not so young, but specifically working with children to help them to understand their own sense of worth as individuals, to understand their self-esteem, that they don't have to be the loudest one to be the one who's accepted, that they don't have to be the most violent one who is feared and therefore see fear as a form of respect, This all has to go with how we as parents take the time to work with our children, understanding that there are a lot of we're swimming against the tide, sort of as parents, because there's so many other influences that our children are exposed to. So to first try to help the family unit to nurture and bring up, socialize these children in a way that they would be prepared to walk away and understand that it's okay to do that. And if the family doesn't do it, to support the school system, because it's an all-of-society approach. We have to have the household, the family unit first, then the school has certain things in place, certain subjects and programs in place. Then hopefully the church will expose the children who go to church to some of these same sort of values across the board, that children are exposed to information that reinforces their intrinsic worth as human beings, that helps them to build their self-esteem, that teaches them that it is okay to walk away from confrontation, it is okay to avoid conflict, because the fact that you stood up and fight doesn't make you the bigger person, right? So it's a job. And then part of what we have to do in education, a role for the police, is to teach children about the consequences of actions. That if you break the law, there are consequences, and these are the consequences that you can face. So that we try with the carrot, which is the gentle persuasion and working with them, and then we also have to show them the stick, which is the arm of the law that says, and if you choose not to do these things, if you choose not to walk away, if you choose to engage in conflict, then you may become, right? You will come into conflict with the law, and these are the consequences that you can face.
I know the IGPF has established a unit, the
Special Victims
SVU.
Yeah.
All right, and I've been on programs with them before. They have a very, very proactive stance. They've been visiting the schools and so forth. Before you respond, someone is trying to get into the conversation. Folks, it's 16 minutes on to 10 o'clock. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Joseph. Greetings and greetings to your guests. I'm sitting here, I must indeed say I'm impressed by the conversation. I think conversations like this should go on a little more frequently on radio. It's one of the things that the country is lacking. But I'd like to I waited for this moment seriously for a lot of months, a couple of months now, probably a year maybe. I wanted to have Mr. Buckmire there to throw this out to him. Mr. Buckmire, this is not about you personally, but it's a department. I was extremely insulted by a member of your staff some months ago. As a visually impaired person moving around St. George's from time to time, it's been a lot of years. Yet people continue to hold on to me, drag me, pull me. They say they want to help me. You're trying to tell them, no, you don't do it that way, and so on. And I sought information or some sort of guidance from the police to get in the court a judicial officer to declare whether or not I have the right to walk through St. George's as I so desire without being molested. They told me they couldn't do anything for me. Up to now, I can't pay a lawyer for that. I decided to go to your department, and I spoke to an officer there. In the conversation, I got the impression that he had some sort of legal background. And I'll call the name, the surname particular, I can't remember the other name. One Saint Bernard. I explained my case to her and I asked her for some advice. If her department was able to help me to get this matter to a judicial officer so that something can be said at that level in protection of myself. Because I considered myself, quote unquote, a person in distress at that moment. Indeed it was. And you know what that woman told me? Well, Mr. Rolla, I understand what you're saying. So I want to suggest that you get a placard, one on your chest, one on your back, saying, to don't touch me. Listen, Bernard, if a lie, tell me a lie. Tell me a lie, no? I don't invent. This happened and it's etched on my mind for these months. And I thought I'd disclose it. One day, publicly, that Grenadians would understand. This was the advice to me. Put on a placard saying, don't touch me. This insulted me, it did hurt me. So as I say, Mr. Gentleman Buckmire, sir, this is not about you, but your department. This is the sort of people you have inside there and how they insult the Grenadian public. If they're not fit to aid legally or counsel, then they should hush, say nothing. And I wanted the Grenadian people, but I can't, it would certainly be remiss of me if I want to tell Miss Saint Bernard something, because thank God, quote unquote, I stopped cuss. For those who knew me when I was a boy, I stopped cuss, so I didn't tell her off on the telephone that day. But today I want to tell her publicly, quote unquote, bah humbug, Miss Saint Bernard, you indiscriminate being. Bah humbug. Thank you very much for what it's worth, gentlemen.
All right, well, I will say, Mr. Rolo, that I'm sorry that you've had that experience. You said that it was at Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic. I've been employed at Legal Aid for 14 years, since the 1st of June 2010, and there has not been a Miss St. Bernard there. There isn't one currently. But I apologize that you had that experience, and I apologize as a Grenadian and as the director of a service agency that provides these kinds of services, and I hope that people will be more sensitive to your wishes in the future. I cannot promise to look into it and investigate within my agency because, as I said, we do not have a Miss St. Bernard employed with us and haven't had since I've been there in the last 14 years. But again, I think this speaks to the larger issue of people understanding their rights and that they have the right to be able to speak out when they feel that injustices or violations of their rights have been committed, and they should be able to seek redress for that.
We have another caller. Caller, good morning, welcome.
Pleasant good morning to you, Innocent, and morning to your guests.
Morning.
It's a wonderful program this morning, very interesting. But I stood back there and I was laughing. The reason why I laugh, there is times a situation like that come up, and maybe a husband or a boyfriend go to the station, maybe Legal Aid or the police station, to make that report. And sometimes the officer that is on that desk, they might feel that the officer laughing at them, but sometimes that officer going through that same problem. So he just laughs to tell himself that not you alone that is in that boat. You have somebody else going through that situation. But sometimes, not every time they laugh to say that they laugh at you. Sometimes again there is some men, they even afraid to put on the boots from work to go home because sometimes that boots pass on them. So it's a good program, and I hope you all will continue with that, so we will teach. It's a lesson to teach us what is going on and how we should approach it and what we should do. Have a good day.
Thank you, caller. All right, thank you very much. Folks, it's 10 minutes on to 10 o'clock. We take a final commercial break and then we come back. It's amazing how time flies. Yeah. This is To The Point.
It's time to lace up, Grenada. The 25th Grenadian General Insurance Half Marathon and 10K is back, happening on Sunday, November 17th, starting at 2 p.m. Feel the adrenaline rush from Corinth St. David's all the way to the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. 10K starts in Woodlands for participants under the age of 15, with monetary prizes up for grabs for the top 10 male and female finishers in the half marathon and the top 5 male and female finishers in the 10K, plus a special prize for the oldest finisher and special cash prize for the school or club or organization with the most finishers. And don't worry, we've got you covered with transportation provided. Ready to race? Let's hit the road! Sunday, November 17th. Register now and be part of Grenada's biggest race event of the year.
Grenada Duty Free and GBN, we're partnering for this Christmas season folks, it's going to be a bumper one. We can actually start feeling the energy, the vibe is start building, the promotions that start coming in, and the fragrances, the chocolate. We have up to 15%, 20%, 40%. It's going to be a crazy one. We are looking forward to seeing you. We are ready to treat you guys special. We are ready to give back to you after this whole year of, being with us and everything and the support. So with our partnership with GBN, it's going to be a bumper season. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
Proud sponsors of Christmas with GBN includes Ace Hardware, Hubbard's, Flow, Duty Free Caribbean, and Answer Coatings. This holiday season, get ready for a magical celebration packed with culinary delights, crafts, and music that will bring joy to your heart. But that's not all. Lots of giveaways are waiting for you. Stay tuned and make this Christmas one to remember only with GBN.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. 7 minutes left to the point this morning. Speaking with Sergent Noel and Tyrone Buckmire from the Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic. What are some of the basic advices you want to live as we end this morning? Well, we have a few minutes, okay? Callers, we still have 7 minutes. You have something that you want to share, you can do that as well.
So I want to encourage our men, Gordon, to first play their part as men in society.
Be a real Zaka man.
Yeah, starting in the homes, because we recognize that through visiting schools and so on, and through conversations with our younger ones, that a lot of the family structures that we have are single parent, but the mother is the one in charge of the home. In the past, we would have had a number of extended family structures, and we have a number of families who are nuclear families as well, but we find a lot of single parent and more mothers, and the absence of the fathers. So sometimes, these young men in the homes have no proper guidance, no one to teach them how to be a solid young boy and then to grow into a solid young man. And so in the school system as well, we are seeing less men involved in teaching and so on. So I'm urging the youths out there, I'm urging fathers as well to step up, play a role as a father, get involved in your children's lives, and teach them something that they can work with. Or if you can't, then allow the stepfathers to guide them, because that's one of the issues we have. To a lot of men, as Mr. Buckmire was saying, they leave home, but yet still they don't want the ex-girlfriend or the ex-wife to have another man or a male figure in the home. And that's a problem. So we have a lot of men, young boys, growing without proper guidance, and so we urging men to step up and play the role of a man, and let's have more prominent men in society, like you, Gordon, the king of Calypso in Grenada for this year. Let's say we have the Prime Minister, we have the Commissioner of Police, outstanding
we have you,
men. Of course,
we have Tyrone. I mean,
so much good examples that you can call, but yet still we are not seeing enough.
Yeah, and they need to come forward.
I believe,
and it doesn't mean that they're not,
exactly,
because there's something that I'm seeing a lot of nowadays, and I have to applaud it. I have to recognize it. I'm seeing a lot of young men carrying children on their shoulders to school and so forth. And I'm like, but someone asked this. I just started to listen, so I am not certain if you covered this issue. What measures are in place for men who have been supportive as a father to a child, and it turns out the child is not biologically his? How can he seek compensation or reimbursement from the mother?
Well, the short answer to that is there's no option for seeking compensation or reimbursement unless you have a legally, that is. There's no legal option for going to court and say, I thought this child was mine, I love this child, I cared for this child, so I supported the child, and now I find out it's not mine, I want my money back. You will be surprised that we've had people come into legal aid with this very issue. The reality is that the law doesn't make provision for you to reclaim money. When you were supporting the child, you were doing it out of a sense of a belief that it was your child and you cared about the child. You were doing it out of love for the child. If you then find out that the child is not biologically yours, and maybe you just have to walk away and wish the child and the parent the best. That may not be the answer that anybody wants to hear, but the reality is, there are many things that the law cannot anticipate and make provisions for, right? Families break up, couples who stay together for 2 years, maybe 20 years, then decide they don't want to be together anymore after having 8 children between them. People get married with all the best of intentions, and then they decide they don't like each other enough to stay married, and divorces happen, or a party dies or whatever. So things change. The dynamics of families change. What we want to really encourage parents is to remember the best interest of the child, that the decisions you make or fail to make can impact your child in a negative way and impact that child's prospects. So to that particular question, there really is no legal option for reclaiming the money.
Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. Welcome.
Good morning, sir, and thanks for taking my call. I have been listening to you for a few minutes, and it's a burning issue, and the church the Lord need to come into our circle. And the Bible says, except the Lord build a house, we labor in vain that builds. And we need to acknowledge God this morning, Grenada. He loves us. He cares about us. He sees all our ups and downs. He knows all what we are going through as a people. He says righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And who wants to bring us to reproach is the devil. Let us accept the Lord Jesus Christ, people, this morning. Let us surrender our lives to Him, our homes, our families, our governments, our schools, our communities, and cry out to God in repentance that God would turn back and look upon us in mercy and bring deliverance so that the nation would be a nation under God again. We have been going through so much. Look at what is going on right this week before our eyes again. God is speaking to us and we are not listening to the Lord's voice. Let us humble ourselves before God this morning, cry out in repentance and commit ourselves again, that God would help us to be the people that would walk with God, know the Lord, the true and living God, and serve God, so that the blessings of God will be upon us and upon our families.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Thank you. Officer, you have 30 seconds to wrap.
Yes, Gordon, I want men to take away from what I want for men to take away from this program today. It's not the fact that, men are generally in crisis, which is a fact though, but I want you to take away that there are a number of support systems in place for you as men, and I want you to feel free to go into any of these institutions or place provided for you to go to make complaints, to get help, and to improve on the quality of support that you provide for yourself and your families.
Is it safe to say, Tyrone, based on the behavioral patterns of men now, men are a species on the verge of extinction?
No, I don't believe that at all. I think men are more and more standing up and taking their rightful place, that men are supporting their families, that men are doing what we would like to see them do. But of course, it's not everybody at the same time. I've been in this work for 36 years and I've stayed in it this long because I'm hopeful. I've seen enough changes in the attitude of young men, and a lot of men my age, we're not so young anymore, but I think we just have to continue to encourage men and support them and value the contributions. This is the point of International Men's Day, to recognize the myriad contributions made by men to the development of our society, to the protection and care and growth of their children. So we need to celebrate that and let them know that there are services out there that are there to support you in your roles as fathers, as grandfathers, as employees, whatever role you play, and to just encourage people to do the best they can, and when they feel that they can't handle it alone, seek support so that they're able to get help to do it better.
Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you, folks. I'd like to thank Sergeant Noel from the Community Relations Department of the RGPF, and of course, Mr. Tyrone Buckmire. He is the director of the Legal Aid and Counseling Clinic. And that has been the program To The Point for this morning. Thank you for your contributions and your participation, and we look forward to another engagement tomorrow, if the good Lord spare our lives. Bye-bye. Have a good one.
Thank you.